All U.S. domestic flights were grounded for several hours this morning. The Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, revealed there was a problem with the system that alerts pilots to potential hazards on their flight routes. It was not immediately clear what the cause of the problem was, nor whether inbound international flights would be affected, although the president later clarified that flights could safely land. Outbound flights have now resumed. Let's bring in Samira Hussain and find out a little bit more. We know, Samira, don't we, that flights from Newark have started up, Atlanta, I think, as well. So things starting to come online. Are we any closer to sort of understanding some of the causes of this and what it might not be?
Well, I think a lot of people are asking that exact question, and I think it's going to take a little while to sort of further investigate exactly what went wrong. But as you can imagine, there's been a lot of talk about this on American media, with quite a few politicians already coming out and speaking about it. And remember, it also comes at the heels of that very busy Christmas period where you saw that Southwest Airlines, for example, just suffered some real catastrophic issues when it came to their flights, and several thousand canceled flights over more than a week. What some people are suggesting is perhaps it has to do with some of the aging infrastructure that is being used by the FAA. Remember, you know, some of these software systems have been in use for a long time. So I think that's one call that a lot of lawmakers are looking at, or one possibility that a lot of lawmakers are looking at.
But the press secretary for the White House saying this is definitely not, at this stage, looking like a cyber attack.
No, and I think that we're all very clear about that. I think that was certainly the worry at the very immediate, wondering whether it was cyber attack or possible, possible terrorist attack or something like that. But that was dispelled pretty quickly, and it was just a matter for the agencies to try and get their systems back online. Remember just how many flights are coming in and out of the United States on a daily basis. Yes, you were right to point out that there were two airports that they started resuming operations at pretty quickly. That would be in Atlanta and in Newark, New Jersey. And that's because those airports are massive hubs. And remember the cascading impact that this has. Flight operators, will have one plane that goes somewhere, picks up people in a city, drops other people off and goes somewhere else. And once you have one delay, it has this domino effect on delays everywhere. Now, it wasn't just one airline. It was all airlines operating in the United States. So it'll be interesting to see how long it will take for operations to get back to normal.
We're going to keep across it. Thanks very much, Samira. Thank you.
We begin with the national air ground stop now lifted. Flights are gradually returning to normal after the FAA stopped all domestic commercial flights from taking off after a central flight system went down this morning.
That's right. The outage prevented pilots from receiving emergency alerts and learning of potential hazards. Now, thousands of domestic flights are slowly resuming after long delays.
We have NBC News correspondent Tom Costello joining us now to help us break this all down. So, Tom, first, do we have any sense of what caused this outage, and when do we think things will return to normal?
So the first question we had this morning was this a hack? Somehow did the system suffer a cyber attack? Law enforcement sources say so far the FBI sees no sign of that. So we don't know why this computer system, this is called the NOTAM system, the Notice to Air Mission System. It provides pilots with information about the airports they're going to. Is there a runway closed? Is there construction equipment somewhere near the airport they need to know about? What about military airspace? That NOTAM computer went down, we think, in the 5 a.m. East Coast time hour. And then as it became evident that this was not working and planes could not take off, essentially the FAA hit the pause button on all commercial departures starting at 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. So then they lifted it. The system is back up and running. But they now need to do a full forensics analysis to determine why this computer went down, because the ripple effect will be significant throughout the day.
Tom, I think people are probably waking up to this news this morning thinking something else that means that my trip isn't going to happen the way it was planned, whether it's weather, whether it's airline staffing, and now this, a full ground stop. How bad is this for airlines and airports, especially after all that mess we just experienced during the holidays?
Well, it's not great, but listen, let's be clear. This is the slowest travel time of the year because we're done with the holidays and we haven't hit spring break. January is usually pretty slow. We have pretty good weather today, except out in California, snow coming into Denver. But for the most part, weather is not a problem. So this is not ideal under any circumstances, but it probably was the best time of the year for this to happen. And now they got to figure out what the problem is. Let's be clear. This is not the airline's fault, right? So if you as a passenger have had your flight delayed or canceled, some airlines are now waiving change fees, but they're not going to pay you to put you up in a hotel, and they're not going to reimburse you for your food because it's not their fault. It's the FAA's fault. It's an act of God. But the numbers are pretty significant. Right now, we're looking at 6,700 delays, cancellations right now, 1,000 in the United States. Let's take a look at the misery map really quickly. And as you would expect, it starts on the East Coast and rolls west because the East Coast is where it started. New York City, D.C., Miami, Charlotte, Atlanta, Chicago, and then rolling across to Denver and to L.A. and to San Francisco. But they've got their own problems out there with the weather. And then the look at Flight Radar 24, the look at all flights in the skies right now, and they are starting to pick up. But you cannot simply, release the floodgates and let every single plane go at once. This is going to take a while to bleed into the system, all of these planes and all these flights that were sitting on the ramp waiting for the go-ahead.
And just for some context, Tom had said earlier, this isn't something that's happened since 9/11, where you see a full ground stop like this, so it's very rare.
Yeah, and huge impact. All right, NBC News correspondent Tom Costello, thank you so much.
And prosecutors say they are investigating all possible leads after an attack at Paris's Gare du Nord train station. At least 6 people were injured in the attack. The suspect was shot by police and hospitalized. ABC News foreign correspondent Tom Soufi-Burridge has more from Paris. Tom, what's the latest on this investigation?
Well, Diane, the attack happened in the early part of the rush hour just inside the station there, right in the middle of Gare du Nord, a station which hundreds of thousands of people go through each day. A man started randomly stabbing people with some kind of bladed weapon. His motive unclear at this stage. There's nothing to indicate this was a terror attack, but 6 people were injured, one seriously, including a police officer. According to officials, he was only saved by his body armor. As you say, the attacker is currently in hospital. According to France's Interior Minister, he is in a situation between life and death, so in a life-threatening situation. But as of yet, we are still waiting for an update from French prosecutors about the motive behind this attack.
Tom, this is the busiest train station in France, one of the biggest and busiest in all of Europe. So what's security like there? And how crucial was this quick police response?
Well, Diane, I've commuted in and out of Gare du Nord on a regular basis. There's often armed police here, but this morning it was swarming with officers. But if you think about places where an attack could take place, I mean, this is the sort of place where police officers with weapons are always present. And that was proven this morning. I mean, this could have been much more serious. The random stabbing happening 1 minute, and within a minute it was over. Police neutralizing the attacker, shooting him 3 times. So it seems that police did their job. They reacted very quickly. They were here on the scene. Now it's over to investigators to work out exactly why this attack took place. We know very little about the man behind this attack, why he carried it out. Thankfully, no one was killed.
Tom Soufi-Burridge, thank you.
Now back to California, where an atmospheric river is continuing to dump heavy rain on the state. Torrential downpours caused flash flooding and mudslides. They closed key highways, toppled trees, and swept away entire roads. California has been suffering also, though, from record drought. So you'd expect the recent rain deluge to help solve maybe some of at least those persistent problems of dryness. But as Lana Zach explains, that's not happening.
Well, the biggest issue comes down to just how dire conditions were in California before this storm. The land was just too damaged by wildfires and sustained droughts to actually take in all this new water. Let's start there. It has been the state's driest 3-year period in history. Key reservoirs are down below 50%, as you can see, and over half of all state wells are also measuring below normal levels, according to California's Department of Water Resources. Under normal conditions, snowpacks melt in the spring, refilling these reservoirs and aquifers. But in this case, plenty of snow has, in fact, fallen. But the system for absorbing water has become so parched that the land can't take it all in. Think of it as a houseplant that you've neglected for 3 months. You can't bring it back to life with a hose. So people are wondering why officials can't store these flood waters to try and help out with the drought. There's 3 reasons for that. First, a lot of this rain ends up back in the ocean. Second, it's really falling too quickly to be stored and reallocated to these key reservoirs. And third, as you've likely seen, rainwater is just not drinkable without undergoing treatment. And when it comes to standing water from floods, the cross-contamination is extensive. So anything ending up in the water supply really requires substantial cleaning. John?
Lana Zach, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. Thank you.
GeorgeSantos' campaign last year was a campaign of deceit, lies, and fabrication. He deceived the voters of the 3rd Congressional District. He deceived the members of the Nassau County Republican Committee, elected officials, his colleagues, candidates, his opponents, and even some of the media. His lies were not mere fibs. He disgraced the House of Representatives, and in particular, his fabrications went too far. Many groups were hurt. Specifically, I look at those families that were touched by the horrors of the Holocaust and feel for them. He has no place in the Nassau County Republican Committee, nor should he serve in public service, nor as an elected official. He's not welcome here at Republican headquarters for meetings or at any of our events. As I said, he's disgraced the House of Representatives, and we do not consider him one of our congresspeople. Today, on behalf of the Nassau County Republican Committee, I am calling for his immediate resignation.